62nd anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary. Wow.
We were going to,
This one's. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Teresa, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
here.
Councilmember Baggett. Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
Here.
Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Trout-Manuel. Councilmember Wales.
Excused. All right, I do have one item that doesn't show up under announcements, but wanted to do this because it just came into us. And if I could have Jamie come up. I know, Jamie, this is not your favorite thing, but just know that this is on behalf of the entire finance team. How's that? That'll make it a little easier, more palatable, right? So this letter was on my desk this morning. It says, Dear Mayor Backus, we are pleased to notify you that the City of Auburn, Washington has received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the current budget from Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA. This award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting and represents a significant achievement by your organization. When a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award is granted to an entity, a certificate of recognition for budget presentation is also presented to the individuals or department designated as being primarily responsible for it having achieved the award. This has been presented to the Finance Department. We hope you will arrange for a formal public presentation of the award and that appropriate publicity will be given to this notable achievement. We appreciate your participation in GFOA's Budget Awards program, and we sincerely hope that your example will encourage others to achieve and maintain excellence in governmental budgeting. Sincerely, Michelle Mark Levine, Director, Technical Services Center of the Governmental Finance Officers Association. And this is just a copy of the certificate. It's far fancier than this copy that I printed off. The Certificate of Recognition for Budget Preparation is presented by the Government Finance Officers Association to those individuals who have been instrumental in their government unit achieving a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which is the highest award in governmental budgeting, is presented to those government units whose budgets are judged to adhere to program standards. And that is signed by the Executive Director, Christopher Morrell. So, Jamie, on behalf of the city, on behalf of the council, and we know that there was another finance director that was responsible for a good portion of this as well, Shelley Coleman, who retired in June. But on behalf of a very grateful team here in Auburn, we wanted to say thank you and congratulations. Thank you. And if you would accept the appreciation of council. Jamie, do you know how many of those awards are on the wall across the street? It's a full wall's worth. It is a very full wall. So we in Auburn have been very, very fortunate to have great leadership in finance and with all of the departments to ensure that we are adhering to those rules and regulations that apply to our budget. So my appreciation as well for a job well done. All right, we have no appointments this evening. Teresa, do we have any agenda modifications?
No, Mayor, we don't.
All right, we will move to public hearings. Public hearing for proposed modifications to the 2020 through 2025 Transportation Improvement Program. City Council to hold a public hearing in consideration of the adoption of changes to the 2020 through 2025 Transportation Improvement. See Resolution number 5464 for further action on this item. Ingrid, is there any staff presentation necessary?
No staff presentation tonight. It was discussed at last week's study session and its routine amendments, but happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Council, do you have any questions for Ingrid? All right, I will open the public hearing on the 2020 through 2025 Transportation Improvement Program. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Anyone at all? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. All right, we will move to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward and give your name and address for the record.
My name is Logan Shepard. Address is 13326 Southeast 236th Place, Kent 98042. First of all, I'd like to thank the City of Auburn and City Council for tonight's vote for Normandy Aircraft for us coming to Auburn. It's a very big deal for us. This is a city that's been part of my life, my entire life. Even though I grew up in Oregon, my grandpa used to bring me up here, and people who have lived here a long time remember the old Boston Market that used to be around. And he'd come up here and we'd see a family that lived out by the Muckleshoot, and we'd come down there and we'd go to the Boston Market, and we'd go down to the airport and watch airplanes. And never in my life as a little farm boy in Lebanon, Oregon, did I ever think that my entire career would bring me back to Auburn. So I would like to thank you guys for that. The second thing is there's not enough praise that happens in this world for people, and as an aviator myself who flies a whole lot, I would like to give praise to the City of Auburn and the Auburn Airport, to Tim and to Tanya and to Ryan down there. As someone who's used that airport a whole lot, the last year, that airport has become a highlight for everyone, from the activities with FAT PNW, Flights Above the Pacific Northwest, to the Fly Washington Passport program, to everything. That airport has become everything that we could want as a positive thing in this community. So I'd just like to say on the record, thank you to Tim and everyone down there. Thank you for giving us a positive thing in general aviation and sticking behind us for all of that. So thank you.
Thank you, and welcome home. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Final time, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Yeah, I thought there was 2 on the list ahead of me, but I guess not. My name is Bob Zimmerman. I live at 33029 46th Place South. Excuse me. Last week I went up, King County had a climate change committee meeting, and I thought maybe I would see somebody from the county there, but I didn't. Not the county, from the city. But anyway, I was quite impressed by what they said. They said that, when the president bailed out of the Paris Accords, the county adopted them and continued the program, and they are on track to have reduced emission of carbon dioxide by 25% in 2020. And that just absolutely amazed me. And I would certainly urge, I saw on the list of cities that Auburn did not participate, and neither did Federal Way, but most of the rest of the large cities in King County do, and I would certainly urge the city of Auburn to adopt it. This is not going to be solved by one big policy change. It's going to be solved by a lot of people doing a lot of little things. And back about, I don't know, a few years ago, I read a deal about in Germany, they did some kind of a biosphere study, and then something like 70% of all the microscopic life and insect in Germany in this study area had died in 50 years. We've lost 40% of our birds in 40 years, I believe. And all the fish in Alaska are headed for Russia because the Bering Sea is melting, and the stuff on the bottom of the ice that they eat is not there anymore. The largest seafood fishery in the world is dying off. Now, in 1980, Exxon engineers estimated that we had that we would be at between 400 and 425 parts per million by 2020. We are 415 today. The last time we had that much carbon in the atmosphere, there were trees growing on the Arctic, on the South Pole. Okay, and the thing is accelerating faster than the scientists even expected. Last summer, I read that they're having events in Iceland or Greenland that they didn't expect till the end of this century. And a lot of the problems we got in the world right now today, from people in Honduras coming north and the stuff in Syria, is because those subsistence farmers over there can't grow anything to eat. Okay? So anyway, I was going to talk about emergency prep too, but I guess there's no time for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? And I will remind council that the City of Auburn does belong to the King County Cities Climates Collaboration, or K4C, in Auburn, or in King County. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Hearing none, we will move on. We do not have any correspondence this evening. We will move to council ad hoc committee reports. Council ad hoc committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the city council, if any. We currently have one ad hoc committee, that is finance ad hoc, and Councilmember Wales, who is the chair, is not here this evening. Is that Councilmember DeCoursey will be providing the report?
That is me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Wales and I reviewed the claims vouchers and payroll vouchers, and on the claims vouchers, we did have some questions that were answered by staff. Claims vouchers were dated October 21st, and they are in the amount of $9.7 million, and we recommend council to approve that. We also reviewed payroll vouchers in the amount of $2.3 million for the period October 3rd through October 16th, 2019, and we recommend approval for that as well.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
Yes, this contains the October 7th council meeting minutes, claim vouchers in a total of $9.7 million, payroll vouchers $2.3 million. That's it.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council? All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We will move on to ordinances. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 6728, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, related to land use development regulations related to mixed-use development, amending chapters 18.08, 18.23, 18.31, and 18.57 of the Auburn City Code, and Exhibit 1 to ordinance number 6382.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I move to adopt ordinance number 6728.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. Everything the attorney said related to the changes to the Auburn City Code. This is related to the Robinson property down on 277th, where Inland Washington LLC is proposing a development that we heard about at our study sessions and other presentations. So the 4 sections of the zoning code are being amended for this particular purpose and also for future purposes as well.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by council? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6728, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Resolutions.
Resolution number 5448, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, declaring forfeited real property as surplus and authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute agreements.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I move to adopt Resolution 5448.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Brown.
Yes, I'd like to second that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
Yes, this is the a settlement agreement that came out of a marijuana grow operation and agreed to by all parties to settle the matter.
Great. All right, questions or comments? Illegal. All those in favor of resolution number 5448, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5458, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute an airport office and apron lease with Normandy Aircraft.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would move the adoption of resolution number 5458.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution pertaining to Normandy Aircraft, a maintenance and service business interested in relocating to Auburn, and authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute a lease for Normandy Aircraft for office and apron space on the airport. In addition to providing aircraft maintenance and servicing, Normandy will provide additional services on behalf of the airport and airport management. What I really like about it is that they'll be there for the weekends. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Holman.
A comment, I don't think it necessary for me to recuse myself, but I will let you know that I did borrow a torque wrench from Mr. Logan Shepard up at Crest Air Park a few years ago.
Did you return it?
I returned it
All
in
right,
about
very good.
20 minutes, but I do have knowledge of this company, but it doesn't rise to the matter of me needing to recuse myself.
No.
Just full disclosure.
Thank you. Are there any more comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5458, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. Thank you.
Resolution number 5459, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the City of Auburn 2019 Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I move for the adoption of Resolution 5459.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Brown.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
My
Just a
goodness,
little
the
quicker.
enthusiasm tonight. All right, Councilmember Holman. Did you?
Yes, this is the City of Auburn's Comprehensive Emergency Plan. It's a document some 150 pages long, and deals with how we conduct ourselves in emergency
Emergencies.
situations, how we coordinate the efforts of the city and the various agencies.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5459, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5461, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the 2020-2024 Consolidated Plan, the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, and the 2020 Annual Action Plan.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I move to adopt resolution number 5461.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm pleased to second.
Okay,
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
This is something that comes to the city council every 5 years, and requires, the city of Auburn is required to submit an update consolidated plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the HUD, to guide the investment of Community Development Block Grant, the CDBG funds. Currently, our plan is ending in 2019, and by making this go through, the next plan will be for 2020 and 2024, and it's due by November 15, 2019.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5461, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5464, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, approving and adopting the modification of the 2025 Transportation Improvement Program of the City of Auburn.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 5464.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. This was the topic of tonight's public hearing, and also, as Director Gao mentioned, was a presentation at our last study session on the update TIP. TIP modifications were made adopted in June of this year. Since then, we've had some changes, and this reflects the changes in available project funding and the addition of projects associated with grants and developer projects that necessitate additional modifications.
Thank you. Questions or comments by council? All those in favor of resolution number 5464, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we are going to move on to mayor and council member reports. At this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Deputy Mayor Pelosa.
No report.
Mark this down.
Wow.
I know. Well, we will move to Councilmember Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. A little over a week ago, the Tacoma-Pierce County Board of Health launched an investigation at the Port Defiance Zoo and Aquarium, primarily because they had some people that actually came down with tuberculosis. These were the people that actually work with the elephants there at the zoo, and although this is a latent TB investigation, they have found no evidence of any active TB, and there's no danger to the public for, visiting the zoo. So it's just that the investigation is going on, but just in the interest of the public. Also, we had a emergency management meeting, the advisory committee in Renton about a week ago, and at this meeting, we were presented by the people regarding tsunamis. Now, even though the city of Auburn is more inland and may not be directly involved with anything that might occur, indirectly, we probably would be cast in a supporting role to help those. When they were talking about tsunami waves that could come in probably as much as 60 feet high, that would totally inundate many of the coastal regions. So this was a very, very informative and very comprehensive presentation, and they passed out literature especially for the people that were having their homes and businesses along the coast. But it really gave somebody something to think about regarding the possibility of the faults that we have around the Seattle Fault, for example, and what could happen if there was a shift or any kind of compression of that fault. That would be probably one of the areas that would be most concerned about. We are in the process of allocating funds for more tsunami warning buoys and things of that nature. So, we're as a city and as a region, we are doing everything that we can to mitigate any of those incidents from occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 16th, I attended the King County Regional Transit Committee meeting. I was accompanied by our senior transportation planner, Cecile Malik. We had a few briefings that afternoon, including a review of the King County Metro policy documents and the standard briefings we receive 2 or 3 times a year related to Metro and the service guidelines that affect all of the region. We also had a fairly nice presentation on King County's Metro Paratransit Access Program. King County has actually entered into a $420 million agreement with a new provider who is going to increase services related to paratransit access and around the region, and how they are going to improve customer service and be able to provide some better short trip windows and some changes for booking, for example, for online booking and items like that. Lastly, we received a very interesting presentation on King County Metro's capital program update. And this is the program that is looking at expanding and adding bus barns around the region. So they are looking, King County Metro is looking at modifying their existing site at the Central Campus in Seattle, looking at an interim base and a new South Annex addition for the South Campus in Tukwila, and then adding a new bus base in South King County, of which Auburn, as you know, have 2 sites that have been selected by Metro for their expansion. One is on 37th and B Street, and the other is on 277th and D Street. What Metro is looking at doing for their capacity is expanding their base capacity by 40% by the year 2020. So going from 1,525 buses to 2,145 buses, and also working to support the conversion to 100% zero emissions fleet at that particular time. What we found interesting was, and quite interesting, Councilmember Dennis Higgins from Kent and myself both had the same concerns related to our respective sites that King County Metro has chosen in relation to environmental impacts, in relation to losing tax base on the properties, and as well as how they're going to logistically handle all of their bus traffic in the expansion program. We were told that they're going to make a decision by the end of this year, which staff is not fully aware of, and we've encouraged King County Metro not only to reach out, but to have very constructive dialogue with Auburn City staff related to their decision-making process overall. So we shall see what happens with that. Their timeline shows that they will actually begin work now, and they're looking at actually having the bus barn additions completed in the year 2031. So it's a long program, but as always, they need to start working with us now to see where we go and to see whether or not this happens in Auburn. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Okay, on October 11th, I had a phone conference with the National League of Cities staff, along with the HALO board members, which were 15 of us. We talked about what to expect during our meetings while we're in San Antonio, and also they mentioned that there's an opening for a vice president, and they have asked me to put my name in the arena, so I'm maybe considering it. I also sent the Teen Ready program to our president, because we were talking about topics of what to bring to our HALO board. So they're pretty excited to hear about the Teen Ready. On October 15th, with a few of our colleagues, we went to the grand opening of the Olympic Middle School, and what a school. Wow, it's a state-of-the-art school. Those students are so lucky to be in a school where they're going to be able to learn without any distractions and also feel safe. October 16th, I attended the Auburn's Prevention Coalition, which I'm a member on, and we talked about the smoking-free parks, along with what they're considering to do with the students that are smoking within the schools. Right after that, at 6 o'clock, I went to the Auburn High School Commons, where they had a panel for the parents to discuss about emergency services that are here in our city. They had a panel about 18 people, I believe. They had our emergency service person, they had our police department, they had the police departments that are in the schools, they had detectives there. Some of the questions that the parents asked was about the safety of their students in the schools if a shooter came in, gangs, what's in place in the schools for lockdowns, what's in plan for emergency situations, how are they going to get phone calls. And they've got a system where all the parents sign up with their cell phones, and the school administration will be contacting them if there's ever an emergency. I was very impressed after I left, because I see that our schools are very safe. with our police department, with our fire department, with the system that they've got set for emergencies in case it happens. Then after that, on October 17th, I attended the candidate forums, which was really nice. It was good to hear what all our candidates have to say, so it was really nice to go to that. On the 19th, I went to an annual, was invited to attend a women's luncheon at the Holy Family Church. That money goes to raise to give scholarships to students that can't afford to attend the Holy Family Church. Also, right after that, I went to the tailgate event, which was with another colleague of ours was there, and what an event. We all should go to that next year because it was so much fun, and the money for that is for students to be able to, that can't afford to go to Mary Olson's farms. They give the students funds. The White River Museum takes the kids over to Mary Olson's by bus, and they learn there where they're really surprised that students don't know where eggs come from or where milk comes from. So these students are learning about that and also about the salmon, where the salmon comes from. So I had a wonderful 2 weeks, very busy, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. So last week, the 16th through the 18th, as a function of my job as president of the State Labor Council, I was able to attend the National Governors Association meeting dealing specifically with the policy of workforce education. And anytime I get to do work advocating for the labor community, I love it when I can leverage opportunities for our community, Auburn, specifically our K-12 system here, as well as Green River College. And so we were able to talk about the important work being done at Auburn High School for career technical education and the professional technical programs at our local Green River College. But I will also tell you that we had the state delegation. There were 5 from Washington, and there were another 5 from Virginia. About half the states were represented. And Virginia said that they wanted to come talk to the Washington delegation, which I thought was interesting. So we waited till after the plenary session was over, and Virginia came over, and they noted that in their research of the various states, Washington was at the top of the Forbes Business Magazine list of the best places for companies to do business. Washington was at the top. But they thought it was curious that in further research, they discovered that Washington was also identified as the best place for a worker to earn a living. And they said, how do you possibly do that? And I pointed out that of the 165 delegates at the National Governors meeting there, I was the only labor representative. And so I pointed out that in Washington State, not only do we have high union density, we use that to advocate for positions on boards and councils and commissions, and that we work with the business community to, for example, help support and pay for solid apprenticeship programs, workforce development programs, and adequate funding for both K-12 and higher education. And so our model is the high road economic development model, where we bring the most qualified, certified, and highly educated workers to bear to be the most productive, high quality workforce, and that we take our piece of that productivity gain. So I'm very proud of the work we do on this council and the advocacy we do, and I'm also proud to be a member of the labor community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Holman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Tuesday, October 15th, my colleagues Bob Baggett, Yolanda Trout-Manuel, and myself had the pleasure of being at the grand opening of Olympic Middle School. And it was particularly sweet for me in that I attended Olympic Junior High School back then from 1961 to 1964. our mayor also attended Olympic Middle School. And many years after me.
74 through 76.
Many years, but thank you for kicking me under the table there. And she was supposed to give the opening address at this dedication, except she was stuck in Japan, where she'd been with the Tamba sister city, meeting with the mayor and council of Tamba, Japan, and a little typhoon got in the way. Hagibis, I believe. Hagibis got in the way, and she wasn't able to address the dignitaries at the grand opening, and so I had the honor of filling in. Then on Wednesday, the 16th, and this is something that I think one of our citizens today, Mr. Zimmerman, spoke about our nod to moving towards a zero carbon footprint. But I had an opportunity to go to Suncadia over in Cle Elum to hear the executive director of the National League of Cities, Clarence Anthony, speak. And that's a 170-mile round trip. The city of Auburn now owns 4 all-electric vehicles for council use, department use, city use. And I'll have you know that I drove the entire trip in an electric vehicle, 170 miles. I still had 40 miles remaining. So if any of my colleagues or department directors are a little bit skittish about getting in an electric vehicle, they have the range, and drove the speed limit all the way over there and back. Didn't have a care in the world, so I highly recommend their use. Let's start putting some miles on those things rather than reverting to gas. That's it.
Very good, thank you. So as Councilmember Holman said, I was in Japan for a visit that was supposed to last about 4 days, ended up lasting a week because of Typhoon Hagibis, which there is no difference between a typhoon and a hurricane. It's just which body of water that it is originating from, and it was a level 3 typhoon. There was significant damage in the surrounding areas, but by that point we had traveled to Tokyo, and so while Tokyo was hit, we felt very safe because Tokyo has been built to withstand a great number of those types of natural events, and so we were very thankful to get home, albeit a few days late. And then I traveled over, as did Councilmember Holman, to the Seattle Metropolitan Chamber's annual Regional Leadership Conference to hear from a number of very distinguished speakers, the first of which was Tony Mestras, who is the CEO and president of the Seattle Foundation. And I would imagine most of you have heard the term Seattle nice. And he was there to tell us that Seattle nice doesn't benefit us, but Seattle real does. So I want to share with you the differences between what he said Seattle nice is versus Seattle real. Seattle nice means you're staying stuck, and Seattle real means you're breaking through. Seattle nice, you're dodging discomfort. Seattle real, direct is respect. Seattle nice, dividing by othering, meaning you are excluding others who are not like you. And with Seattle real, we seek the we. In nice, we're flying solo, and in real, we go further together, which is very similar to one of my favorite African proverbs of if you want to go far, or if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Seattle nice, accepting loose logic. And in Seattle real, you separate the fact from fiction. And finally, in Seattle nice, fearful grasping at issues, where in Seattle, Rio, we practice compassionate curiosity. I like that one a lot, compassionate curiosity. And then one of the other panels was diversity of work, and the blurb about it is there is more to our region than tech. We are a diverse economy. How do we create jobs across all industries throughout our region that open up access to true economic opportunity? Let's discuss skilling up, barriers to moving forward, and preparing the next generation for these jobs. And on that panel, Councilmember Brown, I would like to share, I think I already have with you, but Nicole Grant, the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Martin Luther King Labor Council, was one of the speakers. And when you consider that this is a business-focused, the chamber is business-focused, the opportunity to have labor in the room, to discuss the issues together, to have that real talk, that was the theme of the conference, was real talk. It was very encouraging and very uplifting to hear that we may not agree on everything. Business and labor are not always going to agree on everything, other than the need to provide the best we can for our workers. And so it was a great conference. Really enjoyed the opportunities to be talking with many of our regional partners in a little bit more of a relaxed atmosphere than trying to get in these 10, 15, half an hour meetings and rushing to the next meeting. So I highly encourage attendance to that. It is a very well organized event. And with that, Mr. City Attorney, do we have need for an executive or closed session this evening?
We do, Your Honor. We need about 15 minutes to discuss, consider the selection of a site of real estate when public knowledge regarding the consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. So with adjourning and moving to another location, I think we'd be back out here at 8 o'clock. Possibility for council to take action afterwards.
All right, so we will adjourn to executive session. We will return at roughly 8 o'clock or 8:01.
I had a
garage today, and I didn't feel like changing. Well, I wasn't working outside.
No, oh, no. I hear you.
I'm sorry.
Nope. All right, we will call the meeting back to order. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
It's a pleasure to adopt Resolution 5465.
How about if we all, I'll call on all of you together. 1, 2, 3.
Second.
Second.
All right. Deputy Mayor Pelosi, would you like to now explain Resolution 5465?
This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for the purchase and sale between the City of Auburn Julian Enterprises LLC for real property. And that real property is the Avenue Theater.
Thank you. Are there any comments from council? Councilmember DeCoursey.
As we all know, this has been a long time coming. We have a tremendous asset in this city with the Auburn Avenue Theater. And I remember years ago when I first moved to Auburn, it was still a dinner theater. And my family and I used to go to dinner theaters in California all the time. But I never had the opportunity to take the time to go to Auburn Avenue Dinner Theater. But since that time, I've been there a few times, and it's really a true asset. And I am definitely looking forward to the potential changes and to the upgrades and to the programming that will take place in this wonderful community asset.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey, I will up you on that. I have been going to that theater since I was about 8 years old on Saturday mornings when the Mullendores owned it to watch movies, and then thoroughly enjoyed it when it was the Auburn Avenue Dinner Theater ran by the Douglas family, and have also enjoyed that time since at several events that the city has been sponsoring. Are there any other, Councilmember Brown?
Well, I can't say that I have that great of a history, but I will say that both of my children have been there and performed in that theater, and I'm really anxious to see my grandchildren do the same thing.
Excellent. Anyone else? Councilmember Holman.
Well, I'll up you one, Mayor. I snuck in there for an R-rated movie when I was 15.
Scandalous.
R-rated.
Scandalous. Oh, my. Oh, dear. I don't think there's a way to top that. I would challenge anyone to try. So I think on that, I will say all those in favor of resolution number 5465, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. It passes, and I want to share appreciation on behalf of the City of Auburn to the Douglas family, to JB, who is out in the audience tonight, for your dedication to the arts in this community, and for your care and compassion for many years, and for allowing us the privilege of leasing it from you. And I promise you that we will be very, very good stewards of that legacy. Thank you very much. And also, just to let you know, we will be naming that lobby the Jillian Douglas Lobby, where many, many people gather and enjoy time between performances and before performances. So look for that plaque to be coming your way. And Mr. City Attorney, is there any other business before the council this evening? We are adjourned. Thank you.